Right now at 10, a train derails in rural Dodge County, what we know as emergency crews start the cleanup.
And President Trump meets with Russia's leader, Vladimir Putin, what they had to say about the war in Ukraine.
And students are getting ready to go back to school, how you can get your kids back into the right rhythm. It's all coming up on News 3 Now at 10. Good evening. And thanks for joining us. I'm Eric Franke.
And I'm Sarah Carlson. We begin tonight in Dodge County, where a train carrying crude oil fell off the tracks around 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Now, this happened near the village of Reeseville, where emergency crews from multiple agencies responded. Will Keneally has the latest.
Yeah, more than 20 of the 95 cars derailed. Now, the Dodge County Sheriff's Office says that no injuries were reported. Now, the train was carrying some crude oil. Some of that oil is believed to have leaked from the derailed cars. The Sheriff's Office does say that there does not appear to be any immediate danger to the public, but urged members of the public to stay away from the scene because the derailment occurred on private property.
Nobody is in harm's way at this moment. We have a unified command set up between our agencies and the Canadian Pacific Railroad. They are already on scene. Canadian Pacific Police are on scene. Their supervisors are on scene. So we're very fortunate. Fortunate again that this is not an Amtrak train.
Now, Amtrak did send out an alert, though, that there might be some delays. Now, officials say that this incident is in the same place of a train derailment about 2 years ago. In that case, nearly 30 cars similarly fell off the track during that incident.
All right, Will, thank you. The sheriff also urged leaders to consider steps to reduce the speed limit in that area so a similar derailment does not happen again. Rain expected overnight across southern Wisconsin.
So, Blaze, are you tracking any storms right now on Radar 3000?
We are, yes. Thankfully, none of them are severe. We did have one severe thunderstorm earlier in the evening for parts of La Crosse as well as Vernon County, but that was allowed to expire. And we haven't seen any severe weather alerts since. However, we are watching as these storms are now looking like they're training or moving over an area that has already been hit by maybe several rounds of showers and thunderstorms, slowly pushing off towards the southeast. A lot more of that thunderstorm activity as you're looking at Radar 3000 over in parts of southeastern Minnesota. But this line of slow-moving showers and thunderstorms extends well east into the Wapaka area, Dakota, up there in Wishara County, Green Lake, and Marquette County, And we do see a little bit of rain extending from the Dells south into downtown, or at least northern parts of downtown Madison. These showers and thunderstorms will continue to push off towards the southeast, as I mentioned, overnight into the start of Saturday slowly. So we've really scaled back that scattered severe weather threat, that yellow area, now just limited to just a handful of counties, Vernon, La Crosse, as well as Monroe and Juneau County, to name a few. Strong winds, hail, and heavy rain are going to continue to be our main threats. And as we continue to make our way overnight into Saturday, this line will eventually peter out. But then we're going to watch as yet another round of potentially showers and thunderstorms moves out of the Dakotas into Minnesota and travels south and eastward into Wisconsin as we go into the afternoon hours. We'll talk more about this round as well as the other rounds possible through the rest of the weekend into the start of next week in the full forecast.
All right, thank you, Blaze. President Trump met with Russian President Vladimir Putin today for several hours to discuss the war in Ukraine.
The president says they did not reach a deal to end Russia's war in Ukraine, while Putin said they had come to an understanding. Willie James Inman with more now from Anchorage, Alaska.
After meeting for hours of discussions in Alaska, President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin addressed the future of war-torn Ukraine.
We had an extremely productive meeting and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left.
Putin has seized about 20% of Ukraine's territory. In the war, 400,000 Ukrainians have been killed or wounded, and nearly 1 million Russian soldiers. For President Trump, the meeting in Anchorage is an opportunity to show that he can bring peace after more than 3 years of war between Russia and Ukraine. Ahead of Friday's summit, President Trump spoke about his goals.
I want to see a ceasefire rapidly. I don't know if it's going to be today, but I'm not going to be happy if it's not today. Everyone said it can't be today, but I'm just saying I want the killing to stop.
Putin, meanwhile, is demanding that Ukraine renounce his bid to join NATO, limit the size of its military, install a Russia-friendly government, and formally give up land Russia illegally annexed in 2022.
The risk is that Putin is coming with an agenda, and his agenda is his imperial ambitions for Russia, correcting the great geopolitical catastrophe, as he describes it, of the 20th century, the demise of the Soviet Union.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and European leaders were not invited to Friday's meeting. Zelensky posted this video in which he pointed out that Russia attacked multiple sites in Ukraine Friday, including a market, adding, quote, "That speaks volumes." Willie James Inman, CBS News, Anchorage, Alaska.
A Dane County judge has increased the bond for the woman charged in a wrong-way crash that killed 2 teenagers last month. Noelia Martinez Avila's bond has been increased from $250,000 to $5 million. She is facing several charges in connection with the July 20th crash that killed Hallie Helgeson and Brady Hyland. ICE says agents took Martinez Avila into custody shortly after she posted her original bond August 13th. During today's hearing, a Dane County judge ordered her to be returned to Dane County to await trial.
The Sun Prairie Board of Education is hiring an attorney to lead its investigation after a former staff member was charged with child sex crimes. The board says the attorney is from the Milwaukee area and was specifically selected as they have no prior connection to the school district. All findings from the investigation will be reported directly to the board for appropriate action and follow-up.
The Madison Police and Fire Commission are almost done with their search for a new police chief. The commission has conducted its final interviews with each candidate. They are down to 3 now: Captain Stephanie Drescher, Milwaukee Assistant Police Chief Stephen Johnson, and Madison Interim Police Chief John Patterson. The commission will now go into a closed session to discuss who will lead the department.
An update to a story we've been following now for 8 months. Today, the Wisconsin Elections Commission moved forward with instructions for the Madison clerk's office after it failed to count nearly 200 ballots in the November election. The commission voted 5-1 to adopt the orders, which aim to not only prevent absentee ballots from going missing again, but also to make an example of the city. City Attorney, Acting Clerk Michael Haas, says many of the orders are things the city has already implemented.
I think the 2 main things were, again, how we improved the training for poll workers on processed absentee ballots. In addition, one of the concerns was printing the poll books sooner, closer to the election, and that was also implemented for the spring elections.
Now, the next deadline for the city is January 1st, where the city clerk must explain in writing the steps that have been taken to comply with each aspect of the Wisconsin Elections Commission orders.
Well, that sack lunch that you're sending your kid to school with is now pricier, with the costs rising more than the rate of inflation over the past year. Research from Deloitte found the average daily cost of a brown bag lunch is currently $6.15. That's about 3% more than at the start of last school year. A classic lunch, including a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and milk, saw an even steeper price hike. While less than $5, it will run you 6% more than last year.
When asked what the reasonable cost for a packed lunch should be, $4.50 was the median answer from the parents surveyed, and all of the options in the study cost more than that.
Now, 42% of parents surveyed said their kids bring lunch from home, even if cafeteria food is cheaper or sometimes free, citing reasons like quality and variety.
One of the first steps to get ready for the school year is, of course, a good night's sleep. And according to the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, preschoolers need up to 13 hours of sleep a day, including their naps. Children ages 6 to 12 should sleep 9 to 12 hours, and teenagers benefit from 8 to 10 hours a night.
You have to remember, this is a new world, especially to young kids, and they're learning so much. And just like every other thing in your body, you have to have time for it to rest so that when it's active, it can be on it can be at the best potential.
Other important sleep tips: don't eat a heavy meal before bed. Ditch those screens, of course, and choose relaxing activities like showering or reading. Ahead at 10, Blaze tells us about our rain chances for the weekend.
And the Packers prepare to face off against the Colts in Indiana. We'll hear how the Green and Gold's quarterbacks are shaping up this preseason.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
Washington, D.C. and the Justice Department reach a deal to resolve a dispute over control of the district's police department.
The Department of Justice agreed to remove the head of the DEA as emergency chief of D.C. Police. Attorney General Pam Bondi had initially designated the role change last night. D.C.'s Attorney General argued in a lawsuit that installing Terry Cole to lead the force would upend the command structure and threaten the rule of law.
I'm very gratified that the judge today recognized that that is flagrantly illegal, that it violates the clear language of the Home Rule Act, and that for all intents and purposes, the chief of police remains the chief of police.
The DOJ also agreed to rewrite Bondi's directive that ended rules limiting cooperation between D.C. police and federal immigration authorities.
This week, the White House ordered a wide-ranging internal review of the Smithsonian museums. It's a move that has alarmed historians and scholars. The review includes all materials and exhibits at the Smithsonian Institution, but also the process of how work is selected for an exhibit, as well as guidelines for narrative standards. In a letter, the White House says the initiative aims to ensure alignment with the president's directive to celebrate American exceptionalism.
We want the museums to treat our country fairly. We want the museums to talk about the history of our country in a fair manner, not in a woke manner.
The Smithsonian said it is reviewing the letter and plans to work constructively with the White House. The Smithsonian is the world's largest museum complex, and nearly 17 million people visited its properties just last year.
Well, Target and Ulta Beauty are ending their years-long relationship. More than 600 Ulta mini beauty shops have operated within Target stores since 2021. Ulta's merchandise was also added to Target's website. In a statement, Target says that they're proud of the experience the companies delivered together. The partnership officially ends next August. And despite some signals of lingering inflation in the economy, shoppers are still opening up their wallets. Consumer spending rose 0.5 percentage point in July. This is according to the Commerce Department. Analysts say even though consumer sentiment fell earlier this year, in part due to the Trump administration's trade war, there has not been a major drop in overall sales.
And Costco has announced it will not seek FDA certification to sell abortion pills at its pharmacies. The wholesale retailer said it made the decision based on low demand from members and other patients. Costco's announcement follows a letter-writing campaign from conservative groups and company investors hoping to limit access to mifepristone.
The American Heart Association and the American College of Cardiology are updating their blood pressure guidelines for the first time since 2017. They include a heightened focus on alcohol. Now, the guidelines used to say people who drink alcohol should have 1 or fewer drinks a day for women and then 2 or less a day for men. Now it's less than 1 for women and less than 2 for men. The chair of the guidelines writing committee says the goal should be total sobriety, saying there's way too much evidence of alcohol's negative impact on blood pressure.
Rain expected to move into the region tonight, but will the showers stick around for the rest of the weekend?
Meteorologist Blaze Keller joins us now with what we can expect.
And we are expecting that rain chance to stick around through most of the weekend and continue into the start of next week. We are once again underneath a somewhat unstable, moist and warm air mass. Much like what we saw last weekend, some of our precipitable water totals are anywhere between 2 to maybe 2.5 inches of rain. So we're going to be watching carefully where this stationary front that was last checked still up towards the cities eventually settles into Saturday, because Saturday onwards, where it sets up is really going to determine how the rest of the weekend is going to play out. Because that front became stationary, we're now watching showers and thunderstorms essentially lose their steam the further they get away from that stationary front. We're not seeing any more severe thunderstorms with this line as it moved out of the cities. Still plenty of rain, lots of lightning, especially out towards Rochester and the Austin area in southeastern Minnesota. These will eventually push their way south and eastward, and in taking their time, they could really help kind of slow down that chance for maybe some severe weather as we head into Saturday. So those showers and thunderstorms will continue to slowly dissipate as we go overnight into Saturday morning. We're going to watch activity out into the Dakotas move its way quickly into Minnesota as we go into the morning hours on Saturday, and then possibly move into northern parts of Wisconsin starting early Saturday afternoon. From there, likely they're going to turn south and eastward, much like what we saw today with those storms out in Iowa, missing southwestern Wisconsin. So in turning south and east, that could bring more of that rain activity closer to home as we go Saturday night into Sunday. Looking like maybe we see another stationary front type setup as we go Saturday night into Sunday, as that front eventually settles down before we finally start to push it out of here as we go into Tuesday of next week. But that stationary front will once again pull in a little bit more moisture as we go into not only Monday, but then further into Monday night into Tuesday. We do eventually dry out as we head into the middle of next week. That's when a high pressure system will move on in and start to clear out not only some of the moisture and the humidity, but also this stationary front. So rain totals are really going to be dependent on where that front sets up. Right now, it looks like a lot more of northern Wisconsin is going to get those higher end rain totals. But as those storms push off towards the south and east and maybe train or stall out, we could see isolated spots of 2, maybe 3, possibly 4 inches of rain, which is why our excessive rainfall forecast remains low to medium, so green to yellow as we go overnight into Saturday, Saturday into Sunday, Sunday into Monday, and then Monday into Tuesday. That's when this will start to finally wrap on up. And a quick look at now Hurricane Erin. Within the last hour, she went from a Category 1 to a Category 2 hurricane, expected to become a major hurricane, Category 4 by the end of the weekend. And at least for now, her path will keep her in the Atlantic and not make landfall as she moves up towards the East Coast towards the middle of next week. There's a look at the 7 and 10 day forecast, drying out by the middle of next week, and we look to remain dry as we head into the start of that following work week.
All right, Blaze, thank you. Ahead in sports, Wisconsin football looking for a shot at some redemption this year. Why they say they cannot wait to get back on the field and face another opponent. Stay with us. Well, it's something we'd all like to forget. The Badger football team ending last season with a sour taste, missing out on a bowl game for the first time in a long time. And they've waited out a long offseason, a process that begins to get tedious this time of the year. Fall camp in full force, but the Badgers, they'd really like to see another opponent. They can't wait to get back on the field.
We can't wait. You know, it's always when you get to the ending of camp, it's like these, I think we're about 15, 16 days out. It always seems like everything goes by fast. When you get to those last 2 weeks, it goes by super slow. And guys are getting antsy and we're ready to go. So, yeah, we're super excited. Hosting Miami, Ohio on the 28th, and we can't look more forward to that. So we're super excited to go out there and ball with the guys.
Well, we can't wait either for the start of the season. Ahead of the season opener against Miami of Ohio, News 3 Now will host a special live show at 6:30 from campus, a digital stream to follow. Sports director Andrew Banster will join me for the show, getting you ready for what we hope will be a great season of Badger football. And there's some positive news for the Packers when it comes to their quarterbacks ahead of tomorrow's preseason game against the Colts.
Senior Packers writer Jason Wilde is in Green Bay with the welcome news.
There's 2 pieces of good news for the Green Bay Packers at their quarterback position. Number one, and most importantly, their number 1 quarterback, Jordan Love, underwent successful surgery on a torn ligament in his left thumb, his non-throwing hand, in Los Angeles earlier this week. And the expectation is not only that he could practice on some sort of limited basis already next week, but he also will be ready for the September 7th opener against the Detroit Lions at Lambeau Field and here on Channel 3. But there's another piece of good news. They have a legitimate backup quarterback. That, of course, is Malik Willis, who last season played extensively in 3 games. 2 starts that he made when Jordan Love was sidelined by a knee injury, and a second-half performance in Jacksonville when Love left the game with a groin injury. You know what all 3 of those games had in common? The Packers won them, going 3-0. And Brian Gutekunst, the Packers GM, knows how valuable it is to have a backup you can count on.
Yeah, again, he came in, last year and kind of hit the ground running, did a great job. I think, where he sits now, having a full offseason with Matt and his staff, he's certainly, so much further along, not only, in his play, but then in, just how he affects the room as well. So really good addition to our quarterback room.
Now, as good as Malik Willis was last year, that doesn't mean he doesn't have to earn his keep. Now, it's pretty clear that the Packers have decided he is their number 2 quarterback, and deservedly so, but he has to keep making steps forward in their offense. With an entire year on the team after arriving just days before he had to start that game against Indianapolis last year, and with an entire offseason and training camp, he has shown that he has taken steps forward in Matt LaFleur's offense. The Packers want to see that continue against those same Colts that he played against last year in this preseason game tomorrow. We'll have full coverage of that game at channel3000.com for free. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for our newsletter, which delivers our Packers coverage directly to your inbox every single day. In Green Bay, Jason Wilde, channel3000.com.
All right, thank you, Jason. Kickoff for tomorrow's game against the Colts is set for noon Central Time.
All right, a huge night for the Brewers in Cincinnati, taking on the Reds. They were down 8-1 in this. We go to the top of the third, 2 outs. Christian Yelich doubles into left field. That scores Brandon Lockridge. That gets things going. Still top 3, Andrew Vaughn, a 3-run homer, and suddenly we're within 8-5, scoring Contreras and Yelich. Later in the game, Yelich, this thing's tied at 8. This is his second home run of the game. The solo shot into left field. He drove in 5. Brewers go on, rallying from an 8-1 deficit to beat the Reds 10-8, folks. That is 13 wins in a row for your Milwaukee Brewers.
That was
unbelievable tonight. Unbelievable. Blaze is back. Final check of the forecast for the weekend after the break.
Tonight, Colbert's got Bad Bunny.
I have this hat.
CBS Tonight.
Finally tonight, a deer hunter discovers a strange sight in the wilds of Wisconsin. Sunday, a hunter was scouting for deer in the Mud Lake Wildlife Area in Columbia County when he snapped some photos of a stork and sent them to a wildlife technician at the DNR. The DNR identified the bird as a wood stork. The strange part is wood storks are usually found in Gulf Coast states, along with Central and South America.
So why not Wisconsin? It's cute. The DNR believes the bird is a juvenile born this spring, and since its bill was light-colored, they're the only storks that breed in the U.S., and they can have wingspans, this one reaching around 5.5 feet and make a hissing noise. The DNR believes this young bird just got lost while exploring.
He had a baby to deliver, right? They put it into the store.
Right.
Yeah, maybe that's why.
It's going to be cold, though, eventually.
It'll go south when it needs to.
Yeah.
But it'll be a bit. We've got stormy and it's humid out there tonight.
It is 60s and 70s tonight. Showers and thunderstorms continuing to slowly make their way out of southeastern Minnesota. Rain pretty much stretching from the Dells back west into Minnesota and northern Iowa. The severe weather threat is very isolated, but I think we're going to go overnight into the start of Saturday without any severe weather. You can always get the latest by downloading the First Warn Weather app, and Jacob will have the latest forecast tomorrow morning. Saturday afternoon could be a little dicey with more showers and thunderstorms, some of which could be severe, and the rain chances don't look to wrap up until Wednesday of next week. But we settle into the mid-70s, and then we'll be back there by that following weekend.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Colbert's coming up next.
Have a good night, everyone.